Take this 100 million and leave my son.
Thank you, Ma. I'll leave him immediately.
In the vibrant village of Ubudu, where the palm trees danced to the rhythm of the wind and the scent of roasting yam filled the evening air, there lived a young woman named Neca. Nneka was the kind of girl who could cook a pot of bitter leaf soup so delicious that even the ancestors would wake up for a taste. She was beautiful, yes, with skin like dark honey and a laugh that sounded like a silver bell, but she was also as poor as a church mouse on a Friday. Welcome to Tales for Quick Listeners, where we bring you tales to nourish your mind and tickle your ribs. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, sweet folks, so we can keep growing this beautiful family together. Nneka's heart belonged to Obi, a young man who had gone to the big city of Lagos to find his fortune. Obi was a fine boy, with shoulders as broad as a barn door and a heart that beat only for Nneka. Nneka, my treasure, Obi would say whenever he visited the village. Once my business grows, I will come for you with a fleet of cars and a ring that shines like the midday sun. Neca would laugh, her hands stained with the peel of cassava. Obi, just bring yourself back in one piece. The ring can be made of wire as long as it is your hand that puts it on mine. They were happy, they were certain, they were in love. But there was one person who was not happy, and that person was Obi's mother, Mrs. Gladys. Mrs. Gladys was a woman who believed that the N in Nigeria stood for Naira. She had a neck that stayed stiff from the weight of her heavy gold necklaces and a frown that could make fresh milk turn sour. She did not want Nneka, she wanted Anita. Anita was the daughter of a chief. Anita drove a car that sounded like a silent prayer. Anita spoke through her nose, saying things like, "Oh my God, the dust in this village is so unaesthetic." One bright afternoon, Obi brought Nneka to his family house to formally greet his mother. Neca had spent her last savings to buy a beautiful wrapper and prepared a special bowl of abacha, African salad, to win the woman's heart. "Good afternoon, Ma," Nneka said, kneeling so low her knees touched the red earth. Mrs. Gladys did not look up from her phone. She adjusted her glasses, the ones that cost more than Nneka's father's house, and sniffed the air. "Obi," Mrs. Gladys called out, "did you bring a person into my house or a walking sack of charcoal?" Obi gasped, "Mama, this is Nneka, the woman I want to marry." "Marry?" Mrs. Gladys finally looked at Nneka. She looked at Nneka's sandals, which had been repaired so many times they were now more thread than rubber. "I don't see a wife, I see a liability. I see a girl whose lineage is written in 'Please borrow me 10 naira.'" "Mama, please taste the abacha Nneka made," Obi pleaded, trying to bridge the gap. Mrs. Gladys took a tiny spoonful, chewed it like she was eating a gravel, and then made a face as if she had swallowed a live toad. "This food tastes like poverty," she declared. "It lacks the international flavor that Anita's cooking has. Do you know Anita? She makes pasta with white sauce. This one is still making food that requires washing your hands. Too local." Neca felt a lump in her throat, but she remembered her mother's advice. A patient dog eats the fattest bone. She didn't know yet that Mrs. Gladys was planning to give her a bone that was actually a trap. Days turned into weeks. Every time Obi was away, Mrs. Gladys would send for Nneka. She would make her scrub the floors of the entire compound with a small sponge. She would ask her to wash the lace wrappers that were so delicate they felt like cobwebs. "If you want to be my daughter-in-law, you must be a servant first," Mrs. Gladys would say, sipping chilled juice while Nneka sweated under the sun. Anita would often visit, sitting under the fan, laughing at Nneka. "Nneka dear, be careful not to break your nails. Oh, wait, you don't have nails, you have hooves from all that farming." One evening, after Obi had traveled back to the city for a business meeting, Mrs. Gladys sent her driver to fetch Nneka. This time, there was no floor to scrub, There was only a checkbook sitting on a mahogany table. "Sit down, Nneka," Mrs. Gladys said, her voice unusually calm. "Yes, ma." She sat, her heart thumping like a drum. "I have realized something," Mrs. Gladys began, faking a sigh. "My son is stubborn. He thinks he loves you, but love does not pay for electricity. Love does not buy designer bags. You are a beautiful girl, but you are a village beauty. In the city, you will be like a goat in a boutique, confused and out of place." Neca looked down at her hands. "I love him, ma." Mrs. Gladys laughed, a dry, metallic sound. "Everyone loves until they see the price tag." She opened her checkbook and scribbled something with gold pen. She ripped the paper and pushed it towards Nneka. "There is 100 million naira on that paper," Mrs. Gladys whispered. "Take it, leave Obodo, go to another state, buy a house, start a business, find a man who matches your local frequency. Just stay away from my son forever." Nneka stared at the zeros. 1, 0, 0. Her head began to spin. In her village, 100 million naira was enough to buy the whole market and still have change for fried fish. "Ma," Nneka's voice trembled. "Take it," Mrs. Gladys urged, a wicked glint in her eyes. "If you truly love him, you will let him marry a woman of his status. Don't be a selfish village girl." Nneka looked at the check. She looked at Mrs. Gladys. Then, to the woman's shock, Nneka didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't say, "Love is not for sale." Nneka reached out, took the check, folded it neatly and tucked it into her blouse. "Thank you, ma," Nneka said, her face suddenly very serious. "I will leave tomorrow." Mrs. Gladys smirked. "I knew it. Every person has a price. You are just as greedy as the rest." The next morning, the village was as silent as a graveyard at midnight. Nneka's small hut was locked, her goats were gone, her cooking pots were gone, even the scent of her famous bitterleaf soup had vanished from the air. Mrs. Gladys sat on her veranda, sipping tea and humming a victory song. "Money," she whispered to herself, "is the only language these villagers understand. 100 million naira, and she ran faster than a thief in a crowded market." But then, the dust rose on the horizon. Obi's car roared into the compound. He jumped out before the engine even stopped, his face pale and eyes wild. "Mama, where is Neca?" he shouted, rushing to the veranda. "Her house is empty. The neighbors say she left in a big car at dawn." Mrs. Gladys wiped her mouth with a silk napkin, looking like a cat that had just eaten a very expensive canary. "My son, sit down, take some chilled water. That girl has shown her true colors. I offered her a small token to test her love for you, and she grabbed it like a hungry lion. She didn't even say goodbye. She took the money and fled." Obi fell into a chair, his heart shattering into a million pieces. "Nneka, my Nneka took money to leave me? It's not possible." "It is very possible, my son," Anita said, walking out from the living room, wearing a dress so tight she could barely breathe. "She was just a local gold digger. Now that she's gone, you can focus on a woman who actually has her own billionaire energy, like me." While Obi was mourning in the village, 500 kilometers away in the city of Enugu, a revolution was happening. Nneka did not spend the money on gold chains or expensive lace. No, sweet folks. Nneka was a law student at heart, though the village didn't know it yet. She understood that money is a seed, not a snack. She hired a team, she bought a small factory, she branded her secret recipe. Suddenly, Nneka's royal bitter leaf and Obodo instant abacha started appearing on the shelves of the biggest supermarkets in the country. She hired the best makeup artist and stylist. She traded her repaired sandals for Italian leather that clicked on the floor like a high-end typewriter. But she kept one thing secret, her identity. To the world, she was just the queen of herbs, a mysterious CEO who always wore a stylish veil or large sunglasses in her interviews. Back in the village, things were not going well for Mrs. Gladys. You see, sweet folks, be careful what you wish for. She had successfully pushed Obi towards Anita, but Anita was not a wife. She was a consumer. Mama Gladys, Anita would scream from the kitchen, I cannot cook this yam. The skin is too rough. It is hurting my manicured fingers. Call the driver to go buy pizza from the city. Mrs. Gladys, who used to enjoy being served by Nneka, was now the one doing the work. Anita would sit on the sofa, eating grapes and complaining about the heat. Oh, B, Mrs. Gladys cried one evening, this Anita is not what I expected. She spent 3 million naira on a handbag yesterday and she doesn't even know how to boil water. Obi looked at his mother with hollow eyes. But she has status, Mama. Isn't that what you wanted? Nneka would have cooked for you, cleaned for you, and loved us. But you bought her away. Now enjoy your pizza. 2 years passed. The 100 million naira had turned into 2 billion naira in Nneka's hands. One afternoon, an elegant invitation arrived at Mrs. Gladys's house. It was gold-plated. It smelled like expensive French perfume. The CEO of Royal Food Group invites the family of Mrs. Gladys and Mr. Obi to the grand opening of the Obodo Community Hospital and Food Factory. A donation of 50 million naira will be made to the village in your family's name. Mrs. Gladys jumped for joy. You see, Obi, important people recognize our family. This CEO wants to honor us. Maybe this is a woman you should marry. Forget that village girl Neca wherever she is. She's probably spent all the money and is back to selling roasted corn. Obi didn't care about the CEO, but he wanted to see the hospital. He missed Neca every single day. He still kept her old torn hair ribbon in his pocket. The day of the grand opening was unlike anything Obodo had ever seen. Huge white tents covered the village square, and the air was filled with the sound of high-life music and the aroma of five-star catering. Mrs. Gladys arrived dressed like a golden peacock. She wore a head wrap gele so high it was a miracle she could enter the car. Anita was by her side, pouting because the village grass was ruining her designer heels. Obi followed behind, looking handsome but tired, his heart still heavy with the memory of the girl he lost. Look at the wealth, Mrs. Gladys whispered, eyeing the fleet of black SUVs. This CEO must be a woman of great substance. Obi, straighten your tie. This is how a billionaire's family should look. The music suddenly stopped. A hush fell over the crowd as a sleek, custom-made vehicle pulled up. Out stepped a woman who looked like she had been dipped in starlight. She wore a tailored suit of royal blue, her hair was styled to perfection, and her presence commanded the respect of every chief in the land. She walked onto the stage with the grace of a lioness. She didn't wear a veil today. Mrs. Gladys squinted. She adjusted her glasses. Her heart skipped a beat. Wait, that face, it looks familiar. Obi, doesn't that look like Neca? Obi whispered, his voice trembling. Neca took the microphone. Her voice was no longer the shy whisper of a village girl. It was the roar of a woman who had conquered her storms. Good afternoon, people of Obodo, she began. 2 years ago, I left this village with a piece of paper and a broken heart. I was told that my love was a liability and that I was too local for success. She looked directly at the front row, where Mrs. Gladys sat looking like she wanted the earth to swallow her whole. I want to thank one person specifically today, Neca said with a bright cinematic smile. Mrs. Gladys, please, Ma, stand up for recognition. Mrs. Gladys stood up, shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. The crowd cheered, thinking she was a hero. 2 years ago, Neca continued, this woman gave me 100 million naira to leave her son. Most girls would have cried, most would have begged, but I looked at that check and I saw something else. I saw an investment. The crowd gasped. The murmurs rose like a swarm of bees. I took that 100 million and I didn't buy gold. I bought machines. I hired youth from this very village. I built a brand that now feeds the nation. And today, I am here to return the favor. Neca signaled to her assistant, who brought forward a beautifully wrapped gift box. Mrs. Gladys, you gave me 100 million to stay away. Today, I am giving you a gift of 200 million naira. Mrs. Gladys's eyes widened. For a second, greed fought with shame in her heart. But Neca wasn't finished. But, Neca added, her tone turning as sharp as a new razor, this money comes with a condition.
It is a retirement fund. It is for you to move to the city, far away from here, where you can eat your international pasta in peace. Because today, I am not just opening a factory, I am coming home to the man who loved me when I had nothing. Obi didn't wait for another word. He ran onto the stage and swept Neca off her feet. I knew it. I knew my Neca would never just leave me for money. Anita stood up screaming, "What about me? What about my manicures?" Neca looked at Anita and laughed. "Anita, dear, there is a position open in the factory for someone to peel onions. It pays well, but you might ruin your nails. You should take it. It's more aesthetic than being a professional parasite." The village erupted in laughter. Mrs. Gladys sat down heavily, clutching the gift box. She had her money, yes, twice what she gave, but she had lost her son's respect, her place in the village, and the chance to have the greatest daughter-in-law in history. As the sun set over Obodo, Neca and Obi stood hand in hand under the old mango tree. "You really took the money, Neca?" Obi asked, chuckling. "Obi," Neca said, leaning her head on her shoulder, "when a woman offers you the capital to build a kingdom, you don't argue. You take it, you build the kingdom, and then you invite her to the coronation." Sweet folks, what a beautiful end to a spicy story. What have we learned today? Never look down on a person because of their current clothes, for you do not know the greatness God has hidden in their spirit. And to the Mrs. Gladyses out there, be careful what you offer, because a smart woman will use your bribe to buy your whole neighborhood. Tell us in the comments, would you have taken the 100 million or stayed for love? And let us know where you are watching from. We will see you next week or in the comment section.